Well, welcome aboard, Shantanu. And you have a lot of experience in your certified global CISO, Chief
Yes.
Information Security Officer, for those of you who don't know what that means. And then you serve on advisory boards, InfraGard, as well as WAMSA, which is the Women's Security Alliance. So I appreciate you joining us and bringing your expertise here.
Okay, so let's get on the OT, operational technology, and you'll see a little a schematic diagram there because OT is an ocean, a vast ocean, and as we are tightening our IT information technology defenses, the hackers world over are changing and pointing their guns to operational technology because that is an often overlooked area. The wide-ranging term I'm using for operational technology is about combination of 7 to 8 different types of technologies that could categorize as a master OT category. I think the unique part of OT is especially the last, and that's why I have kept it last, the cyber physical systems, which are like really card readers or video cameras, and those are becoming the uh, I would say more prominent attack vectors. There are 47,000 unsecured cameras in the country, and 47,000 for the entire US may look like a small number, but it's an army of one, right? If they can get in from one and they make a lateral shift, the whole infrastructure could be compromised. This is as recent as you can see. So the FBI outgoing directorate um, on a public network television, in perhaps one of the most watched news show in the country, uh, explicitly mentioned that this is the pre-positioning of American civilian critical infrastructure. That's and especially wreaking havoc and inflicting real world harm at time and place of their choice. So it's like just matter of when I pull the trigger. I know the snipers are already uh, in the building, so to speak. And that's an open public statement. So that's where I would say, we start because I feel, and that's where I liked the one of the best briefing comment that cybersecurity is everyone's problem.
Hmm.
We are the defending army for the United States to defend our country and critical infrastructure, specifically, so to speak. So you can see that out of the 900 million cyber attacks on our country in 2024, you can see the statistics, and the important one is on the government services and facilities, the buildings and the plants and laboratories, national research and everything. About 10% of the attacks are happening on federal government. So, and if you're like me, I like Shakespeare, and I'm sure many of you have studied it, watched the play, or the Julius Caesar, and how the soothsayer is telling the Caesar, beware. And that's, I think, what Director Ray is telling us. He is our soothsayer, that the cyber attackers have already breached our critical infrastructure.
I find it amazing that the numbers, anytime you look at the numbers of people jiggling the doorknob,
Hmm.
um, and it's happening all the time. So, and the objective is number one to try to keep them out, and then the other part is to try to keep them from doing
Right.
harm after they get in there.
Let's start with that. And obviously, you can see this is sort of dual role in that sense. As a federal agency, the country is looking up to you guidance that, okay, how do I do this? Where do I go? Also provide necessary support by coordinating with Homeland Security or FBI and the likes in case a particular organization under your jurisdictions falls victim to a cyber attack. Investigate or help investigate those attacks. The dual role is, when the agency itself becomes a victim.
The objective is to understand what they need to do, and some of that is IT, like heavy duty IT, like technical things, and other stuff is training people so they don't click on funky emails, right?
Yeah, that is so true. It's not clicking. Like they say, if you are traveling in a pickpocket-prone area or a country, just hide your wallet someplace safe. It's many a times the defense can be very simple, not costing you a dime. No matter how compliant you are, what your budget is. If an attacker comes, it's like a balloon and a pin, right? All it takes is one tiny spot on the balloon to pop the balloon. So use cases for most agencies. As you can see, we covered them, but protecting your OT asset is the primary use case, and we will cover. There are about 8,397 buildings, according to GSA, lands, ports of entry, courthouses, laboratories, etc. I will start with the surveillance camera. It's necessary these days, and that's what I was talking about. There are 47,000 unsecured. Many times the user ID password for those cameras are manufacturer supplied, Scott Tiger, and they never change it. So it's easy to get hacked into. Building access, then smart plugs, outlets, smart cars parked near your network, and if there is not enough air gap defense, people
I
can
never even thought of that. So because your cars have Wi-Fi now and they're connected. Golly
see them
day.
all. Seen them all. Yeah, yeah. Sensors. I had one client where a hacker got into their the breach using a temperature sensor in a decorative fish tank.
A what? And a
A
fish tank?
fish tank. And then they got hacked into using that sensor, made a lateral move, and $300 million gone. So what are those challenges? Even if you have to patch one firmware in a device, it's a big deal because there is a lot riding on it. Many times the business decision makers say, no, you ain't fixing that, and even to fixing that, a downtime of 1 minute at times for OT means a lot. In IT, you don't have that kind of downtime requirements as such. So that's the biggest one, I will say, that most of the OT, you cannot have your surveillance cameras off for a minute because that's enough for a breach, right? Asset visibility is a bigger challenge because most of the asset scanners that are available, they do a fantastic job on detecting IT assets, but scanning the OT assets, difficult. And many times the OT don't even accept those scans because of some tight, boundaries by the vendors. Also, couple important challenges are limited OT skills, awareness, and expertise. Again, it is technology, but it's 180-degree away from IT cyber expertise.
Hmm.
You cannot have your IT SOC analyst and let that person manage the OT SOC, software supply chain. I have had OT situations where the firmware was written in a enemy state, and that firmware was infected already. So there was a call home feature in that firmware, and the data was exfiltrated using that firmware. And the purchasing agency did not know because the software supply chain transparency, the vendor never discloses the supply chain. So the IT and OT are indeed like oil and vinegar, if you really look at it. And as an agency or as an organization, you need to have that holistic view that, hey, my job is to protect all these 100 and these 100, all of that. And that's where I think what we are seeing is zero trust architecture is becoming a natural fit because of the inherent principles, the separation, air gapping, and the trust and verify approaches, the governance that zero trust architecture brings are so relevant to make it holistic, because zero trust architecture is in a way IT/OT agnostic. They say, hey, and that's the whole idea, right? I trust no one. Your governance processes, like we showed in that risk management framework diagram, that bring the 882, the OT standard, to the top and make it a part of your risk management framework, so that your risk register is now showing up the OT risks, that, hey, we are having a Windows 95 operating system in 200 of our devices, and this could be nuclear research devices, and that's a risk, right? So when you start your OT journey, your architecture, cybersecurity product architecture should have these categories at a minimum, asset visibility, vulnerability scanning, network segmentation and monitoring, endpoint and patch, and so on. So the soothsayer's court, I cannot emphasize that enough. That there is a soothsayer in a very responsible federal positions for last several years together. In fact, organization like FBI, CIA, highly respected, protecting us, and they're telling us that beware of the Ides of March. In OT, the closing comment I would make, and I wanted to save the best for last, because with OT, whether it is a colonial pipeline, whether it is a federal veterans hospital or anything, any downtime could mean loss of lives.
It really can.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.